I think we are good to go. And of course, Afra agrees, because of course she does. So hello everyone. Yes, Afra. Hi. Yep, I'm doing the usual Monday thing, Afra. We're good. Okay, so, yeah. Hi everyone, and welcome to another, Crafting Monday. I will let you know now and also at the end that there will not be one next week because next week is, yeah, Afro always helps with the sound check. Next week is, for those of you who might not remember because the days are blurring together, is Memorial Day. So I will not be doing a craft on Memorial Day. I will be back on June 1st. And I'm not entirely sure what the craft will be, so keep an eye on our social media late next week, middle to late next week, after Memorial Day, and there will be a list of supplies, like we usually do, but I also usually do them here, and then you can pick up whatever you need. Yeah, I have a couple options, and I have not decided what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to do all of them, I just haven't decided what order. But if you don't have pipe cleaners, one of the ones coming up will have pipe cleaners, so you have plenty of time to order through like Michael's or even Amazon probably to get them by then. So if you want to order pipe cleaners, order pipe cleaners. I will admit, I did not, my stash over here, I did not finish up and decorate Steggy over the last week. Mostly just, I kind of forgot, and pandemic apathy. And I will finish her at some point, and when I do, I will show her off, hopefully by June 1st, because we have 2 weeks. I just want to make sure I can do the color, continuation justice, so I gotta find just the right Sharpies and have at her. So, yes, so this was last week's. This week, we are going to make, kind of switch gears a little bit, and that everything we've made has just been like kind of a simple art and craft that you could display or just recycle. I mean, Seggy would recycle just fine. But we're gonna make, let's move it this way. Bird feeders today out of, yes, Afra, out of plastic bottles. She likes bottles. She likes plastic. She likes things that make fun noise. Yeah, you do. You can use a soda bottle. I have here a 16 ounce, 16.9 ounce Coke bottle, but you can use water bottles, any kind of bottle that will work, basically from like 12 ounce to 20 ounce. You don't want to go any bigger than that because it's going to be too heavy once you fill it. I'm not going to fill it today because of the way, when I show you the design, you're going to see that it's going to be a messy endeavor, and since I'm working in a room where I can't do this outside, I'm not going to fill it. Because, yeah, it would just make a mess, but I'll show you how you'd go about filling it. Yeah, Afra does approve of birdseed, anything to do with birds, and she is not gonna, she's not gonna get any seed, because again, I'm not bringing any in here today, and it's not her kind of seed anyway. It's local bird kind of seed. And you can use any seed on this. Probably the best one, the one that I saw in the examples, is one of those like mixed seeds that has like the little tiny balls and that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can use any kind. And it's, as far as like actual materials needed, it's very simple. It is your bottle. I would take the label off just for ease of cutting, because you're going to need to cut through that section. Something sharp. I have both my usual sharp pair of scissors and an exacto knife. You could use a box cutter. Any sort of thing like that. And then 2 spoons. If you have some old wooden spoons that you don't want to use anymore, that's what the instructions originally call for. But I'm using plastic spoons because that's what I have lying around. And honestly, it's going to work the same way. So basically, what we're going to do, where's my Sharpie? And then you need something just to hang. They suggest floral wire, so if you are somebody who has that, fishing line would work. I'm going to use pipe cleaners because that's what I have, because that'll work too. So what we're going to do is, the first thing, what you're going to do is you're basically going to cut holes so that you have a spoon coming out this way, put through it, and a spoon coming out this way, put through it. You want them at 90-degree angles from each other. It gives the birds something to perch on when they're not eating, and it also gives them the spoon part to perch on when they are eating. So, and what they suggest is that you use a Sharpie or some other sort of permanent marker or permanent ink so that you don't cut your holes too big, because you don't want these jangling around, or the birds are going to step on them, it's going to move, and they're going to fly. They're not going to be interested in doing it. So mine, if you're a wooden spoon, you're going to have a much bigger hole. I'm really just going to cut for the back end of my spoons basically a slit and just kind of wiggle it to make it a little thicker. So they want one about 2 inches from the bottom, so one about here, and then one about 2 inches up from that one. So about halfway through, like where the label goes. So I'm going to just make a little mark here, which you can see there. And then I'm going to cut that mark out. And actually I'm going to do, while I have it, I'm going to make the lower back mark. So this is the back mark. This is the part that the spoon's going to go, the back end of the spoon's going to go through. I think that's probably about the right size. And I'm okay if this is a little big, but again, cut small and then widen if you need to. That way, I'm not sure if my X-Acto knife is going to, oh, yeah. X-Acto knife is going to work perfectly. I'm always a little curious because I know our X-Acto knife blade is a little bit dull right now, so I'm always a little uncertain. Now, what I'm going to have to do, I think, let me see if I can, is basically, because of the way cutting this kind of stuff works, it's the same thing when I was cutting the X-Wing for May the 4th, is now you have this flap. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of levering open the flap so that I can try and trim that flap off. Be very careful. Don't do this if you're not good with sharp stuff. Please don't bleed on my account just to try these crafts. They're fun, but they're not worth bleeding over. I almost got it. I know, almost got it, Afra. Almost got it. There we go. You can see my little piece of plastic. Ooh, the light's really, that window, really whitened me out today. Alright, so now I have a teeny tiny little hole here. You can't really see it, even over here, but it's there, I promise. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my other hole. Start with my X-Acto knife, finish with my scissors. I apologize for any background noise. The garbage men have started coming at exactly the time in which I do these. Okay, this hole's going to be a little big. I tried something a little different and it didn't work. What I tried to do on this one was cut the top and the bottom and not cut the sides. Instead, I've cut it a little wonky, but I think I'll be okay. All right, so now the hardest part of this whole thing, there's a hole right here. Does it kind of focus? Not really. My hand behind it shows it a little more. Is getting the hole directly across, correct? And this hole's got to be bigger because one of the things you want is you don't want your spoon to sit, you don't want it to sit at the edge of your spoon. The whole point is when you pour it in, you want a little bit to pour into your spoon, so you got to get the spoon into about here. It's just going to sit there. You're not gonna, but I mean, you could glue it if you wanted to. I'm going to test and see how it works, and then you can always use, you could use hot glue, might buckle the bottle. My preference would be super glue. Hello. I've got someone in the comments who is from France. Hello. Welcome. Hope you enjoy this. All right, so now I'm going to try and cut. Well, actually, no. I'm going to be smart. You always mark first. You don't just cut. So if that's where it's a little lower. And this is where the wooden spoon comes in handy because they're flat across, so you can really go right across. But you just kind of have to eyeball this. How wide are you? try and figure out about how wide this is. I probably should, if you really wanted to do this really well, you could definitely that deep. You could absolutely actually use a ruler and like measure the length of your spoon and all those kind of things, so that you were 100% accurate. Again, as you probably know by now if you're watching these, my philosophy is, yes, I mean, you measure and you cut only once, but it's also that they don't have to be perfect, and sometimes it's just not worth the time it would take. All right, so I've cut. Now this one might work if I do the top and the bottom with the X-Acto knife separate and then try and do my sides, because it's wider. I should probably actually show how much. You see that up there, the top, how much wider, how much bigger it is. So let's see. Yep, this seems to be working. Oh, well, that piece fell into the bottle, but that is okay. Now let's see if that works. So there's my hole, and you can kind of see behind it my second hole. So let's see if I insert this in here and push him through there. I think this is the hole I kind of screwed up, and I think I have to cut that hole out a little bit more. The hole in the back is the one I kind of screwed up, so let's be very careful using things like X-Acto knives, because they are known to slip. Also, apparently, didn't quite dry this bottle out enough. Alright, so alright, I need to, I don't know if you can see, again, you can see, but it is not quite, my hole is not quite wide enough. It's got a good grip though, which is good. So we're going to just cut out a little bit. Very carefully, keep your hands far away and all that jazz. There we go. Let's try that. Yeah, as was commented, birds are not enough dinosaurs to want blood on their feeders. So, yeah, modern birds are not. So this, I think, is going to work. But again, this is why you want to use small seed, because if you can see, I'm trying to kind of block. No, the problem is that the shade's already mostly down, so it's not going to help. All right, here. So right in here, there's a small hole where the seed can come out. Right in here, because I cut a square, and of course the spoon's not square. I also cut square, so there's a little bit of holes down here where technically seed could come out. That might be a problem, but you can put a little bit of tape over that. Just Scotch tape, even any kind of tape that you have. You can cover up those holes, kind of tape this in. Again, like that kind of goes back to the gluing thing. But I think this is enough that the seed could come out. If it doesn't, if you try this and you don't have a big enough hole here, just kind of make a, pull your spoon out and make, once you know it's wide enough, and kind of make a little bit more of a dome. But you also don't want the seed to come pouring out, because then it'll pour out and just miss the spoon entirely, which obviously we don't want either. So I've already cut my bottom back hole for this part of the spoon. And now I'm going to draw and cut and I could try and do a loop on the bottom. Again, without, really measuring, I'm not going to worry about it too much. But it might not be a bad idea if you want this to work really well. Don't mind my squinting. I'm trying to eyeball this, and the light's not a whole lot better here. So we're going to, let's measure against my spoon. Push my spoon here. More here. And draw my square, or my rectangle, sorry. I swear I know my directions. There's my rectangle. The one advantage probably of having tried to keep the label on was that it might have been a little bit easier to see some of this stuff, but we'll see. All right, so now I'm going to cut this out. Same way I cut out the other one, top and bottom first, then the sides. It's a big enough hole that it'll hold, the bottle will hold its integrity enough. This will work. It's not working though. Again, be careful using sharp stuff. Watch your fingers. No blood for anyone, please. And I say this as someone who very often bleeds over projects, whether I like it or not. But I try not to. You want to try not to. It's always the goal. Let's see if my hole in the back. Yep, the hole in the back is big enough. Ooh, this hole was almost too big. My spoon can go all the way in. So we're going to pull this out. But that's okay. It's, yeah, I don't think that's actually a problem. Yeah, I don't think that's actually a problem. And the nice thing is, if you notice both spoons, if I set this level over here where you can actually see it, both spoons point up a little bit, and that's not a bad thing because that'll keep the birdseed actually within the spoon. It's not a lot of birdseed, but the idea is that you fill it up, high enough, which is why you might have to block off the little holes in the side if you've made them. You fill it up high enough that as they eat it, more will pour into their space. That's why they want a lower one too. Obviously, the seed down here will never get eaten, so you might want to occasionally empty it completely out and refill the seed so the seed down here doesn't get gross. I don't know how often you feed birds, but that can definitely happen with the feeders. You could probably do a third spoon down low if you really wanted to. It might be a little difficult because of the way it'd be easier on like a water bottle or something that has that doesn't have these kind of indents like a soda bottle does. But you certainly could try and really get the seed that's down on the bottom. I am not going to, but you could try. And yeah, what I will do for June 1st is definitely fill this up with seed. I gotta get the pieces that fell down in here and the last bit of water out before I add any seed. But I'm gonna add seed so that you can see what it looks like all filled. But that is the basic idea. You can then design it. As you probably saw from you might have been able to see the Sharpies work well enough to be able to draw on this. So if you are the artistic kind who want to decorate it, the birds aren't going to care, but you can decorate it if you want. Or if you have a kid that you're doing it with, you can also, really decorate it. I am not. I like being able to see the seed inside of the feeders. What I am going to do is take one of these here pipe cleaners. You can go about hanging it up, especially with pipe cleaners because of the way that they can bend any direction you want, any number of ways. You can, do this first and then kind of like attach them here. I'm going to go around here like this, except just try and even it out. And then just go up. You can actually even basically tie them like a knot if you really want to, except that didn't work because my knot is uneven. That's okay. And then you can use the second one. It depends on what you're hanging it off of and where. If you just need a little hanger, there you go. That's going to hang it nice and level. If you need more, then you just use a second pipe cleaner. Let me detach these if I can figure out how I just did them. And you can add a second pipe cleaner if you need a bigger and just wind your parts together. Oh yeah, you can absolutely draw birds on your bird feeder. That's a good idea. You can decorate the spoons too. They'll take Sharpie. Just don't rub it right away. Let it dry. But yeah, you can also make a much bigger hoop if you need a bigger branch. Or if you're not hanging on a hook or whatever you're doing. I won't be hanging mine until fall. I don't feed the birds in the summer. As of right now, the house doesn't have anywhere to hang them, but I will be getting things before the fall to hang feeders on. And so this one will get hung up, assuming it works, which I'm pretty sure it will. Looks like it should. It'll get hung up with the other one, so I don't need anything bigger than this or anything. But you do want to make sure it's strong. Like, see how easily I pulled that apart? You do want to make sure it's strong enough to take the weight of the birds, because the birds are going to be landing on this. So you really want to get it good and tight. That's much more secure. I'm giving it a pretty good yank here. You can also put a little bit of glue right in there or tape it, like an electrical tape would work really well on that. I wouldn't suggest Scotch tape or masking tape, but a little duct tape or a little like electrical tape would work really well to secure it on. Yeah, and that's it. I know it's a little on the short side, but since I'm not going to decorate it, that is the sum total of the bird feeder. I mean, minus the seed. And the seed, obviously, you take your top off and pour it in. I do not have like a cool pourer, so I will probably just use a funnel. That's the word I'm looking for. I'll probably just use a funnel. I have a little funnel that I'll just pop in the top and pour the seed into. But that's all you have to do is and then you just pop the top back on so that they're not tempted to go for the top part, which is not really what you're looking for. And there you go. But any sort of wire will work. Pipe cleaners are nice because they're very bendable. But as I said, they suggest floral wire, which is also bendable. Fishing line would work if you're good at tying stuff. So basically anything you're looking for would hang it nicely. So yeah, as I said, there is usually I'd fill up a little bit more time with what we're doing next week, but as a reminder, there is none next week. I'm gonna take a break for Memorial Day. We'll be back on June 1st. I believe it'll be flowers, which will be made out of pipe cleaner, Q-tips, and either construction paper and glue or modeling clay if you have it. But certainly don't go out and buy modeling clay. Construction paper and glue is fine. I do have some, so I'm going to make them both ways, but I'm also going to make them with glue and construction paper. Or any sort of yellow, you do want something heavier duty than, for this one, than regular printer paper. Whether it's like photo paper or cardstock or construction paper, you are going to want something heavier duty than that because the regular printer paper won't be strong enough to hold the Q-tips. So that's probably what we're going to be doing on June 1st. If not, it'll be the week after that, so we have a little bit of time to get those supplies if you don't already have them, like the pipe cleaners. And I will be back in 2 weeks. Have a good Memorial Day, and I will see you then. Thanks. Bye.